Fala aí, galerinha, vamos aí conferir aí o que nos se revela, né, sobre esse evento aí da Band. Lembrando que o drop é somente na Twitch, viu, galerinha? Por isso que eu tô vendo aqui nela. Mas o link tá fixado aí nos comentários também, viu? Pra vocês estarem assistindo, acho que é 40 minutinhos o evento. Vamos ver o que vai acontecer. Eu vou colocar a tela grande, aí eu vou estar gravando também. Aqui. Vamos ver aí se não vai dar ruim na transmissão deles também, né? Mas enfim. Lembra que eu tô transmitindo pro YouTube também, viu, gente? A mensagem de vocês também. Vamos ver o que vai acontecer. E daí... Provavelmente acho que no final desse mês já começa a jogar Destiny de novo. Eu tenho que fazer umas raids, que eu tô muito tempo aí parado. Mas sendo bem sincero, em a lista aí sobre essa DLC, tô esperançoso, né? Porque vai vir uma nova raid, todo mundo sabe aí. Eu gosto, é um dos conteúdos que eu mais faço no Destiny, as raids em si, né? Morrer pro masmorra não faço tanto, mas vamos ver o que vai nos apresentar. Falta 8 minutinhos. Vai começar basicamente. Bom, o que vai ser apresentado é sobre as armaduras novas, a Sandbox que vai mudar. E talvez alguns conteúdos vai ser removido também durante a DLC, né? Devo falar um pouco mais sobre isso hoje. Lembrando que essa aqui é parte 1, então talvez daqui a umas 2 semanas eles façam mais um. A DLC, se eu não me engano, ela lança dia 15. Parece que é dia 15 mês que vem. Então temos aí basicamente umas 2 semanas para ele fazer mais uma transmissão. Daí em si, aí o trailer da DLC, né? Vamos ver aí o que vai nos esperar sobre ela. Talvez, acho que semana que vem ou na outra, se eu tiver tempo, eu começo a fazer a rádio de volta. Porque tem umas que eu não lembro mais nada pra entrar da volta. A da volta, da Riven. E também é a última que saiu, né? Vamos ver o que vai acontecer. Já tá loguei no Destiny amanhã. Vou pegar o artefato dos packs em si, mas geralmente eu só pretendo voltar mesmo a jogar na DLC, né? Hum. Eu tô vendo um negócio aqui com o pessoal, aqui no grupo. Tá. Então, talvez eu volte semana que vem. Eu acho que meio que tá gripando muito. Mas já entrei só somente pra fazer aí, pegar o artefato. Porque sem ele você não consegue fazer algumas coisas que tem, né? Mas aí, semana que vem eu devo voltar a fazer alguns rádios aí pra lembrar de volta. Vamos ver aí como vai ser essa DLC, né? Eu vou gravar porque vai que eles colocam algumas coisas aí que depois eles tirem, né? Aí pelo menos tem aí a prova que foi falado. Acho que tipo, das rádios em si que tem, a eliminar salvação acho que é a única que é chatinha de fazer. Só pelo fato do quarto encontro dela. Se não souber a ordem lá. E quem tá dentro e quem tá fora era complicado. Mas fora isso aí, ela é bem fácil de fazer. Eu espero que a outra ele não coloque esse negócio aqui, nem ele mesmo não sabe fazer, né? E fora isso aí, eu acho que a campanha deve ser bem curta nessa DLC, igual as outras. Então, vamos ver o que eu vou apresentar hoje. Lembrando hoje que vai estar o design das armas e da armadura também, né? Não vai funcionar na DLC. Falta 2 minutos, basicamente. Essas musiquinhas de fundo é bem da hora do Dash. E não tem copyright, não. Vou configurar aqui. Dar o cursor, né? E depois eu gravo alguma coisa aí pro YouTube. Mas fora isso aí que eu falei pra vocês sobre as rádios, acho que a eliminar a salvação, ela foi chatinha de fazer no começo. Eu não sei como tá hoje, por isso que eu quero dar uma voltada aí, ver como que estão fazendo lá. O problema é que, tipo, eles aumentam muito o nível de pureza do pessoal. Quer dizer que não tem necessidade, tendo que o primeiro Destiny um nível máximo que foi a 400. Um minuto, hein? Vamos ver se vai começar no tempo certo. Mas tá com trailer, né? Vou acabar a gravação aqui.
So Kepler's a place touched by the Nine, concealing a lot of secrets and danger. And it's somewhere that human scientists traveled to a long time ago to research a dormant singularity. While living on Kepler, not only did they observe the collapse, they survived it. And over time, the ideals of the scientific process they held to were enshrined in their culture, and they came to be known as the Ionians. The Elixni House of Exile arrived during the Dark Age, weary from the Long Drift. They didn't invade Earth with the other Elixni houses. Instead, they sought a new home, which they found alongside the Ionians. But the dark matter that permeates Kepler and that they converted into the ether they need to survive ended up being toxic. So when the Ionians failed to cure them, the house rose up under an archon claiming to be blessed with prophetic sight. Now, the House of Exile is full of zealots, and they'll stand opposed to the Guardian as they walk the winding pathways of Kepler, learning more about what called them there in the first place. Guardian's paracausal power acts as a catalyst for the normally corrosive force of dark matter. These new powers will allow them to unlock long sealed passageways for the Ionians as they make their way to the singularity at the core of the planetoid.
So from the start, we focused on building Kepler as more of a dungeon-like destination.
A gente não tem legenda no YouTube também, viu?
Places like the Leviathan.
Eles colocam depois. Infelizmente.
Fight your way across Kepler, you tap into dark matter abilities and unlock enemy tech that expands your navigation and aids you in combat. These are all about going places you would normally think are out of reach.
Esse negócio aí da esferinha, você viraria a esfera de luz, né? Acho bem bacana as mecânicas.
Done in Destiny before. The Mattermorph ability lets you twist the objects in the world around you.
With Relocator, you've essentially co-opted the Fallen's teleportation
Essa Maia não, viu?
to cross gaps you wouldn't have even considered before.
It'll be the small tells, an open vent, a broken window, things you want to remember because you might be revisiting them later.
Abilities can be upgraded, so as you unlock new perks, you can
Já
change
tem um upgrade, depois eu pauso e vejo direitinho.
By far, the most game-changing is one of Matterspark's upgrades. On Kepler, it lets you turn into Matterspark the same way you'd summon a sparrow, wherever and whenever. It will optimize not only exploration, but also combat on future playthroughs in super creative ways. There are tons of cool combinations. You can suspend an enemy with Mattermorph, bend a path up toward the sky, and then in mid-air, leap into Matterspark to dash across the arena and arc chain a group of enemies.
The team has already seen players pairing abilities with different exotic perks and aspects to create some really crazy builds.
Notauro.
This is only the beginning, and can't wait to see what happens once players get their hands on this kit.
A recompensinha pra quem comprar, né?
All right. Hello, welcome to Bungie, and welcome to our Destiny 2 Edge of Fate live stream. This will be the first live stream that we have leading into launch. Big shout out to the folks that we had on our Dev Insight video. We were just talking about Kepler, destination abilities, some of the secrets of Kepler and the Aeonians, but we're going to leave that for a later date for you to discover. Today we're going to be talking a bunch about Sandbox. We have a bunch of core feature updates with Armor 3.0, gear tiering, some new loot for you to grind out, and a bunch of cool things to show. So without further ado, let's get to it. We have a wonderful panel of developers on our couch. Some of them are new, some of them you've seen before. But yeah, let's start out with Eric. How you doing?
I'm good. Thanks for asking, Dylan.
Yeah.
Aí o boot.
Folks that maybe haven't seen you on a previous
Boot de teste pra nós.
first weapons and all the cool ability stuff. Who are you? What do you do?
Sure. I'm Eric Smith, gameplay lead on Destiny 2, and I'm excited to dive into our sandbox changes.
Awesome. Vivian, hello, hello. Welcome to the live stream format. We've seen you on Vidocs from time to time, but yeah, for folks that haven't met you, seen you on our Vidocs. Who are you? What do you do?
Yeah, I'm Vivian Bex. I'm a sandbox designer on Destiny. I get the privilege of making like a lot of the toys that players get to use, you know, like weapons and stuff. Recently, I've kind of been all over the sandbox team, and I have some very exciting stuff to show today. I'm really excited.
Man. Yeah, we'll get into that in a minute.
Eles estão falando aí sobre o Sandbox do jogo, que é basicamente o que eles vão mostrar hoje. Algumas armaduras, né? E algumas armas também que vai chegar pra nós na DLC. Não trazer essas no treinamento, porque algumas coisas aí não tem tanta relevância, né? Relevância mesmo. E ela acabou divulgando depois no post. No site em si. Então,
Yeah, right. I think the last time we had you on the couch, we were talking grid skipper rolls and things like that.
Yeah, it's been a bit.
Yeah. So as we're diving into this, we have quite a bit to go through in the show. And to start, we're actually going to be in the shooting range. We're going to have our gameplay specialist going through, showing you
ó, vai ter esse negócio que eu tinha falado pra vocês no vídeo passado. É um stand de você colocar as armas lá e testar, né, o dano que você dá naqueles mobs que tem. Isso era pra ter feito desde o Destiny 2, né?
Let's talk Armor 3.
Mas aí agora que eles estão colocando no jogo de fato.
Where do we start with ammo? Where was it back in the day? Where are we?
Dá pra ver qual dano você dá com tal arma.
So when Destiny 2 launched, we
Isso
had
é legal, mas
stats.
deveria ter feito isso aí bem antes, né, no jogo.
And then with Shadowkeep, we hit Armor 2.0, where we added 3 additional stats for a total of
10 status que tem.
and Armor Mod
E o nível do cara tá nível 200 ali por causa que ele tá usando,
Saga of
vamos supor assim, tipo um ornamento, basicamente.
we are adding, or we're reworking the stats. We're adding set bonuses, and we are adding gear tiers as well.
Yeah.
And the kind of the goals with Armor 3.0. So one, we want to make
Vou
armor
mudar aqui minha câmera,
desirable. When's the last
bem em cima da cabeça do cara.
armor dropped, and you were
do cara.
able to
Vou
go
colocar
pick it
aqui,
up
ó.
and see what was inside. And then we want to rework the stats to make sure no stats left behind, no stat feels mandatory, and give you further depth of build crafting in your armor roles, essentially.
Yeah, and then an underlying goal as well that I've seen you execute upon in the team really is approachability. There are a lot of new UI tools where you're hovering over perks, stats, all that kind of stuff. You're seeing actual percentages, you're seeing more full descriptions for things, helping newer players or returning players get reacquainted with the sandbox of Destiny.
Yeah, in this release and in coming releases, we are absolutely focusing on making the game easier to digest and understand what's going on. And this, looking at the shooting range here, is a great example of this, like where I can just go and see how much damage I'm doing, and test out my weapons, test out these builds, and see the actual changes that my new armor and whatnot is giving me.
Yeah, and you can load in here with a full fire team of 6 if you want to check out raid boss damage or just come in
Aí
here
embaixo ali o DPS que você dá, né?
shooting the stuff.
Os painéis que tem. Daí já tem no código, gente, esse negócio aí.
This is one of the major overhauls.
Esse negócio de treino que eles estão colocando no Destiny 2 já tem daí no código faz tempo.
Really quick, if you could get a quick scroll through some of the stats, go ahead and give us.
Mas o bom é que vai chegar pra nós também, né?
Remove some stats. We've removed resilience. We've removed
E tem no caso de óbvio que ele mostrou,
yes, and mobilities.
ele também tem a habilidade também, viu? Você vê.
Then we have melee and grenade, super, class, and then our weapon stat. So this is an entirely new suite of stats, does different things. All of our stats now, instead of going to 100, they go to 200.
Ali em cima tem o reload, né? O tempo de reload e também tem o dano que aumenta.
The
O
zero.
encantamento, benefício ali do lado de baixo, lá do PV que ele tá mostrando.
We are giving you kind of your
Deu super energia de super,
energy you're getting in the
mas tá nível 100.
in the 100 to 200 range. We're increasing things like damage, things like survivability, which is somewhere we've never really, gone into, and it's going to really give players more tools to customize their build, kind of pinpoint a single, like I'm going to be this badass grenade thrower that's just doing shit tons of grenade damage, or I could be more defensive or more weapon focused and all of this, right?
Yeah, we haven't had like a weapons stat before, and it's sometimes been you'd have to like hook into the artifact to make like a true weapons build, and we've kind of pushed further into that world.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I think we saw some questions specifically about the weapon stat and PvP. I know y'all have been balancing in the PvP, making sure this is kind of like cherry on top. It doesn't change the time to kill too much, but it's kind of like a cost balancing factor, right? If you want that extra damage, you lose out on grenades, things like that.
Sure, yeah. So if you want to go all in on weapons, like your weapons are going to be more potent than they were before, but it's at the expense of your other abilities and that sort of thing. So we have done extensive testing to make sure we're not breaking PvP. That said, in the first day that this comes out, the amount of hours being put into this by
Tá usando pra ver qual dano que ele tá dando no
so
inimigo ali, né?
how much change we've
His
actually
skills.
the team's worked so hard across the entire game. Everything you hear today it's not apples to apples with the pre-Edge of Fate numbers and feel of the game. It really across the game we have just changed so much.
It's very different.
It's
not really easy to compare the experience of what's going to be in the next release to what people are playing right now.
But at the same time, it still feels like Destiny.
Yeah, it's that
like
quintessential feel of I got my gun, I have my abilities, but now it's how much agency do I have in leaning into some of these things and embracing like a role-playing mechanic.
Yeah.
And one of the cool things is like internally, I think the most common thing we say on like our Sandbox channel now has just like emerged as, man, I can't wait for 900. Like
right.
the Sandbox is really exciting. There's a lot of really specific builds you can do. Like if you want to be the melee guy, you can be the melee guy more than ever before, right? And it's I think we're going to see some really crazy stuff.
Speaking of embracing some of these different lanes, we actually have 3 new exotics coming with the Edge of Fate. Each class is going to get 1 new exotic. Each embrace a different sort of vibe or theme. And yeah, you can see them on screen. I think first...
Essa manopla aí, ó, é a que vai vir na DLC para as classes que tem o
Yeah, so first we
é um braço,
which is
a cana também é a manopla, e o caçador é um peito, né?
what this does is after your Hellion fires, after a certain amount of time,
Tenória, que é o nome em inglês para ele. Não sei como vai ser em português,
seek nearby units and
mas aí são os exóticos novos que vai vir.
adds a little bit of like skill play to
Provavelmente vai ser daquele exótico que quando você fizer a missão no modo heróico lá, né?
We can see like...
Vai estar podendo escolher já de cara ele.
Or a group sort of ad clear exotic, right?
yeah. It can kind of serve multiple roles, just kind of like a amping up something that was like a trusty old tool to be something a little more that you have to like manually aim.
Yeah, and you can like, because it like splits in mid-flight, you can kind of like control your spacing to like
O
control
braço que ele tá usando é esse que dá esse buffzinho aí, ó, que fica atacando o inimigo.
all 5, yeah.
Mostrando.
They'll, like burst
Ele capera bem rápido ali, viu?
Or if you like get way back, you can just blanket a region.
Love it.
Interessante.
You can see on the screen too, like some of the looks of the exotic and the Hellion have changed.
Yeah, so like while you're using the exotic, the Hellion itself, like the little solar buddy, will have the same X that the gauntlets do. So it's like a nice little nod to like match the exotic.
Love it.
This thing looks so metal. I'm like so about having that big gas canister on my arm. Having that like flamethrower warlock arm is so cool. I may have to start switching play warlock.
Love it. Next up, I believe we have Hunter on docket.
Yeah, so the Hunter exotic is Morai, which
Vou mostrar do caçador.
about your threaded spike and tangles, where you can basically like yo-yo a tangle from out in the field back in your hand and then throw it again. So the way this works is if you have a tangle out in the field and you throw your strand hunter melee at it, it'll pop the
Eu
tangle,
uso os fios de cor de seda, né?
bring one back to you that if you catch the spike, you'll get another tangle. So you can like duplicate a tangle, which works really well with a lot of strand hunter aspects like whirling maelstrom and just like the existing tie-in with like grappling to a tangle.
Oh,
So
boy.
you get like even more mobility and a lot of like ad clear potential, and also it will return more energy when you catch it as well. So like even if you don't hit anything or you don't grab a tangle, so it helps you keep that engine going.
Yeah, you can see the strand energy attached to the threaded spike. So if you grab that, I love how we're rewarding that like perfect grab.
Yeah.
You can already hear people yelling "spin to win" as they're
Yeah.
spamming these things,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, I mean you can have 3 Beyblades out in the field at any time. Essentially, it's
And you're like zipping between the tangles with grapple. It's
Yeah.
cool as hell.
it's very strong. It's also going to be very strong with this artifact
Oh, yes.
upcoming, which we'll talk about. But
Ah, esse aí do caçador eu achei bem fraco, viu?
bit about this is it will the threaded spike will bounce
Do arcano é, acho que tem mais.
from enemies as well.
Só que ele é mais por ter mais poder em si, né? Ele é basicamente mais melhor do que esse aí, do que o do caçador.
Skill at the same time.
Yeah, I think
Se for lançar, né?
Titans and sorry, Titans. We'll get to you in a second. Really cool exotic. I do want to talk about Gambler's Dodge. In the last
Pode pegar a teia de volta que você tacou,
changes, exotic.
ou então fazer as novas teias.
And we saw some chatter around Gambler's Dodge. It was updated and reworked, right?
Yeah, we have reworked Gambler's Dodge. So it's the energy you get when you dodge now scales on your melee stat, but you no longer have to dodge near enemies to get that energy. So I can dodge anywhere in the game. I don't have to worry about this invisible circle that's around me to know if I'm close enough. It is going to feel more consistent. If I build into melee, it's going to feel more powerful. There's also, Taylor, you were talking about
Yeah.
the multiple charges, right?
So if you like our bar for a lot of this stuff is if you are at 70 stat, you'll get the full refund like you used to. But if you go beyond that, you'll actually get a little bit more, which most of the time doesn't matter. But like if you're using like a Fiddy Spade or
Porque esse aí do caçador, aquilo que eu tô vendo aqui, é algumas coisas que ele já fazia, né? Usando a habilidade da teia ali.
so you can keep that going even better if you're fully invested in melee. So you have like more reasons.
Ele era muito bom pra usar. Essa habilidade da teia era boa
More melees you
pra
want.
fazer o crota. O pessoal rushava lá pra frente lá com ela.
Still do
Like, just so many shurikens.
Yeah.
Just an embarrassment of shurikens.
Mas essa do caçador eu achei bem meh.
Everything in front of you.
exactly.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
and then I won't be bothering you and saying, don't kill this
Quero
thing.
ver do Titã que vai fazer.
Just do it wherever you want.
So yeah, let's go on to Titans. So this one thematically, I think, for me at least, I'm just like, you're a forge master.
Yeah. So this is Melis Panoplia, which is an
A hard
exotic.
name to say.
Yeah.
As we get deeper into Destiny, the names get a little.
Depois eu vou trazer certinhos ali pra nós, viu?
Yeah, it's an exotic.
No vídeo que eu vou fazer depois, essa live aqui, aí eu explico mais ou menos como que vai funcionar.
Of Thor's hammer. Of I want to be able to pull my hammer back to me after I throw it. So there's like a little minigame loop here where you get a fire sprite, you pick it up, then you get a buff that lets
A granadinha.
pull the hammer back to you. And if you pull the hammer back with good timing, it'll explode into like solar shrapnel
Tá usando insolação também, né?
on the way back. Kind of like how hammer saw works. And I think the hammer
Ó, esse é legal, esse aí do martelo agora que você pode puxar de volta. Tem que ir até lá e catar, né?
like send it back through guys.
Line 'em up.
Back, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've wanted to do this for a long time, but it's been kind of a scary,
Complicated.
Yeah, it's hard to balance this sort of thing where it's like it returns all your energy, but it also you can pull it back to you at any time. So, Alex,
É, não bastante o martelo do Thor, né, basicamente.
It came out so well.
the balance and the
Ou
action
você pode ir até ele, ou então você pode pegar ele, né?
performance.
Pra ele de volta. Isso é legal.
I love the performance on this thing. We've got like this beat where it's like all this magnetic like handshaking and it feels so good. We actually did like a new tech thing on this where if you're like looking off to the side, we kind of move the player's hand a little bit so you're like still kind of actually pulling the hammer.
Qualquer posição que você puxar o martelo, ele vem. É interessante, viu?
Very cool.
Ah, o arcano
It's super
e o titã é os que eu achei mais interessante. No caso, eu não achei tanto não, viu?
Activity.
Como que vai funcionar na prática mesmo, né?
Ask for stats. And actually, two things. With your exotics, there are going to be.
Mas o caso do titã tá bem da hora, esse negócio aí de puxar o martelo de volta.
Yeah, so gear bonuses when a new armor set drops. If you have 2 or more pieces from that armor set, you will get an additional perk. If you have 4 or more pieces from that armor set, you will get another perk on top of that. So I could take 2 pieces from one set, 2 pieces from another set, and then an exotic, and I have like more perks than I've ever
A
had,
granada também pode ser interessante.
and it's really enables you to
É só você tacar o martelo e puxar, é muito da hora.
We have an example of this in the build right now. If gameplay specialists could inspect an armor piece, you can see. Yeah, here's some of the destination armor bonuses that you can get.
Yeah, so at 2 pieces we have Force Converter. At 4 pieces we have a Reactive Booster. And sorry, go for it, Vivi.
Okay, I was just gonna say, like, so yeah, these are unique to the armor set itself. Something more than just like cosmetics that you might want out of these.
gives you another reason to like go to
Right.
a specific place and pursue a specific armor set besides just fashion. Although fashion is still very
Although
important.
You can
Very
still
important.
use your armor synthesis
yeah.
and put the looks on these.
Yeah, and I mean, we also get to make perks that are like, I'm the this guy, you know, because you're investing so heavily in the four-piece perk. But what's really cool about this is like, I think this is going to be very cool at live when we like launch. But I think in like 2, you know, releases or whatever, just a little bit in the future, we're going to see people go like, hey, remember that armor
Yeah.
that I
Mixing
got?
like something from 2 seasons ago.
Right,
with
the
now.
2-piece perk from Kepler is really cool with whatever,
Yeah.
and we're really excited about that.
Yeah, and then the second piece of this is going to be for the stats rework. Some of the fragments are going to be reworked as well to adopt new stats or change, right?
Yeah, so fragments still can adjust your stats up or down depending on your build. And some of these, you know, because we've deprecated some of our perks, or stats rather, some of these are new. Like we're gonna have, some of these will have weapon stat, which never have happened before, which just opens up new build crafting avenues. We're gonna kind of wait and see how this lands, how the dust settles for all of the stat stuff before we go in and adjust these further. But yeah, I think players have a lot of different ways to build out their stats and become the grenade master, the weapon master, and whatever they want to do.
So, quick shout out, Dark Slifer, Child.
Lembrando, quem não pegou ainda os fragmentos lá, que você pode pegar
Feel free to keep dropping
ele, né?
chat. I'm glancing down here.
Lá na torre.
It is time to move on and
Peguem antes da DLC, porque depois vai ficar mais caro, eu acho. Viu?
you have been very excited about a new
Eu
weapon,
acredito que você conseguir ele, né?
the Edge of Fate.
I sure am. For centuries, humanity has wondered, like, what would a legendary bow look like in the heavy slot? And today I have your answer. For Edge of Fate, we are building a crossbow. It plays like a new
É
archetype.
a nova arma, que é crossbow, né?
Purposes, like it's gonna fill all your bounties, that kind of stuff. Now, so when we went to go make this, we knew it was a very cool fantasy, right? We want the feeling of like really drawing it back and it hitting a single target and doing a ton of damage. But we do have linear fusion rifles, right? And that's always the question, is like, what does this do that's different? What's the fun gameplay here? And we settled on, well, when you shoot that big heavy bolt and it hits your target, you can just go pick it back up. So this thing theoretically is a heavy weapon with unlimited ammo. You can use the same bolt for an entire.
Munição ilimitada, ela falou.
Would love to see someone do that. Go
Você
clear
pode
a dungeon.
tacar ele e pegar a munição de volta. Interessante.
It's very cool. You have to put yourself in danger. You have to go grab it. But it's just such a satisfying loop to just like pull it out of some dead hive, just put it in the rail, pull it back, use the same bolt to shoot someone else. It's great.
I saw
Vamos ver.
last week in
E eles não nerfar quando lançar, né?
map with a single bolt.
Yeah.
And they,
Na segunda semana já nerfou tudo, não presta pra nada.
That was me. I'm sorry.
I can hear the PvP mans like when
Vamos ver.
infinite heavy ammo. They're like,
Oh, no.
excuse me,
Yeah,
but it's like
It-
you gotta go.
You
pick
gotta
that
go
thing up.
get it. Yeah. So it's not free, but
And-
it is very potent.
Yeah. And in PvP, you only get the one. You got to get the headshot.
Yeah.
And it's very funny. It ends up being like this game of like keep away, where you're like, we cannot let Taylor get near this thing. Like,
So as we're going into this activity, we'll get some gameplay footage. This is a good example of the portal system that we'll be talking about.
Vamos ver mostrando como que vai ser o crossbow agora.
Tune in. But we're going to be taking some content from just the history of Destiny, and it will be in the portal to go in and play. Power progression, we'll be talking about that next week, so stay tuned for that. Vivian, back to the heavy crossbow though. You were talking about this being legendary, so that means random rolls,
Yep.
and you had mentioned bolts.
Yes, yeah. So we had a really fun opportunity when we were making this, where we go to the talent grid, and we always want to make stuff kind of like new and different. And we got to the talent grid, and we were like, this thing does not have a magazine. We cannot put magazines on this, right? And it gave us the opportunity to like really go, what would like a different magazine plug system look like? And so what we ended up going for is like, we have bolt types. And the bolt types, instead of just being stats, they're going to alter the way the bolt actually behaves out in the world.
Yeah.
So we've got, one of them is like explosive bolt, where it's gonna put in a target, it'll like beep, 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 and it'll just explode. Kind of like a grenade launcher. And then we have, my personal favorite is that we have serrated bolts. I remembered to say the shipping name this time.
Oh, you can say, yeah.
used
If
to
it
be
doesn't
tactical.
have
Ah, mas
names, it's not
tá
really.
muito empolgado pra esse crossbow, viu?
Now I'm like, oh, you guys know better than I
É
do.
interessante a mecânica que ele tá falando e tal.
Serrated
Você
bolts.
tacar o
You can put
o
in a target.
pedaço basicamente, né? E pegar depois.
Normally draw them back.
E ele é de arco, viu?
If you have serrated bolts, they're gonna deal damage on the exit,
Interessante.
and it is so satisfying.
Vamos ver como que vai funcionar no jogo em si, né?
And you just pull back your.
Lembrando que tudo que eu tô mostrando aqui pode ser aquele jogo final mudo, pessoal. Lá em cima tem aliado dizendo, viu?
First brought this up, I was just like, that's so metal.
Então,
Yeah, gimme.
fiquem atentos já, né?
Really quick, just on the topic of ammo, there are new ammo meters. Bjorn, we were going to talk about this in the firing range, shooting
Yeah.
range. But we actually have some live gameplay where we can see these meters working out. Can you talk us through what is this new system? How does it work? That kind of stuff.
Yeah, so there's been a pretty big shakeup in the way that ammo works in the game, where in the past it wasn't really anything that you had too much control over, but now it is something that you have like a lot of control over and a lot of build crafting hooks to optimize or like make your own. And it almost like kind of works like an ability or like a super does now, where it lives in your weapon tray. You can see there below the weapons on kills and assists with anything that'll tick up. And then when you hit full, the next kill will drop you a brick of that type. So there's a lot of things you can do now that you can build into to like have a lot more control over the pacing of when you're getting that.
Sweet.
And like there's a bunch of armor mods that exist now that like pretty much all the things that used to be finders or inventory now fit into ammo generation, which is like a new weapon stat. So players have a lot of different ways to kind of build around that, depending on like, you know, if you have a really ammo-hungry special weapon, then you have some options now to actually make that easier to feed.
And
Eu não sei se esse crawlbook que vai vir pra nós, ele vai ser de quest ou vai ser num passe, né?
content creator videos going out. But before we get out of combat, I do want to talk about, alongside the new weapon archetype of the crossbow, we have some new weapon frames coming to the game.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah. So
É, novas armas.
All right, yeah, so we have the spread shot hand cannon. It's like a big, chunky, beefy hand cannon that fires shotgun pellets. Very close.
Ele é fuzil de pulso, né? A primeira de cima. O arco que é de mão dos vídeos.
You know,
But
I'm
it's
sure it'll
close
be
range,
great.
right?
Yeah,
Like-
it's very limited. It's like a sidearm, like big punchy sidearm, but like even less range than a sidearm. But like less precision reliant.
This thing has become my baby in
Yeah,
PvP. I love this thing.
It's pretty great.
É bonito esse aí do Osiris, viu, mano?
It's like a primary ammo, and it is
Eu não sei se é do Osiris, só tá usando skin, né?
like other abilities to hit people.
It's
or
really
just
good as like a
one-
mixer in between other stuff.
Right, and that's exactly how I play. So I love this thing.
And second, so shout out to Sammy Cat, resident bow lover. She does full solo dungeons, HUD off, bows only. We have a new bow frame that's going to be coming.
Yeah, so we made a longbow, which is like a big, heavy war bow. Even slower draw than precisions, but more damage, and it has intrinsic
Ah,
overpower.
não, é só usar a arma que vai vir mesmo.
Fire a full draw, it'll just go straight through all of them with one shot.
I love that. Our damage.
Bonito o design dessas armas, viu?
So they actually mean something now? Because if you look
Yeah.
at how much damage this bow is doing compared to like each one of those pellets in the hand cannon.
Yeah.
Right.
As skins das armas no Dash são tudo bonitas, mas as skins, as armaduras em si,
I was like,
Yeah,
the
it's
number
principalmente a da Raid, né?
meaningless, but
Tá desejando muito, viu?
changed so much, and I can't overstate like how
Tomara também depois skin, né?
has changed and how this game is I guess evolving. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and a lot of those changes are like, they go hand in hand, right? Like us changing the stats around, you know, us making new builds possible. A lot of these changes are all like, they're all going to kind of combine to create something new.
Yeah. Did you see that front shielded ogre?
Oh,
with
boy.
we have a new. We'll talk about this next week.
Yeah.
But the new Banes are incredible. I'm very excited for players. To,
Oh boy, yeah.
play with.
New banes, new modifiers, all that kind of stuff. And then the final weapon we got on tap is going to be a special weapon, another burst, shoots explosives.
Yeah.
Let's talk about it.
So I know a lot of people are big fans of rocket-assisted sidearms. Now we have a
Eu
rocket-assisted
falei que era um fuzil de pulso, sabe? Porque ele tá mostrando.
that fits a similar role, but a little bit different. It's a little more ammo-hungry than the sidearms. Got a bit more range and hits a bit harder. So kind of
Os armas novas vai ter muitos perks, viu? Comparado às que tem atualmente.
fires a little bit differently than pulse drive.
Vamos ver se esse perk me vai valer muito a pena se tá upando toda ela, né?
Like different burst delay, but when you're firing each pulse, they all have like the same rate of fire. So this, instead of being like the brr, it's like a bop bop bop. So it feels heavier and it's firing these like big, slower projectiles. So it feels chunkier.
Thank you for doing a Dave Samuel
Yes.
impression there.
I aspire to greatness.
Yeah.
This thing is like real cool, it's real heavy, but it's also like, you know, like we said, it's like pretty ammo hungry. One of the cool things about 900 is like, we have the ammo stat, you know, you can build into that, you can eliminate that downside, and now you can see it working.
Yeah, same for the longbow too. Like there were some perks on the random rolls that you can go in, less than the draw time. Like sure, it's still going to be a little bit slow fiery, heavy hitting, but there's a bunch of ways that you can build craft and tune these things to feel good for your play.
Like you have like one for all or other things that care about hitting multiple targets.
Yeah, right. So as we're going through this transition, we actually have a bunch more to cover, and gear tiering has been top of mind for a lot of players ever since our reveal stream. So Eric, I'd love to dive in and just revisit what's the high-level vision statement for gear tiering and how we're getting players reinvested in some of that.
Yeah, so gear tiering.
Vamos falar agora do Gear, vamos ver como vai funcionar.
Gear at a glance and like understand how powerful it is. So you can see those kind of 5 icons.
Ó, tem tier agora, ó, de Gear.
5th tier armor piece we're looking at. And the stat package or the stat pool that each piece gives is going to depend on the tier. So you can see at tier 1 is going to drop between 52 and 57 stat totals. And then at tier 5, you are guaranteed 75 stats plus stat tuning, which lets you kind of add some.
Yeah, shout out to, there were a bunch of folks that were asking, what are stat bands? Because in the game right now, it's what is low to a given player. Like 62 feels low, but an actual definition is like 58 or lower.
Yeah.
In the game now, we have UI that tells you exactly what are the stat bands for each of the tiers, so you know what you're looking for as you're trying to build to 200 or 150 or whatever you're looking for.
I'm sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
I love that we did this because this is the most common question I
Cada tier que ele tá falando ali é que cada tier que tem,
see it now.
do 1 ao 7, né, ao 5, quer dizer, você ganha um status aí melhor na armadura. Então, basicamente você upar as armas, do jeito que você upava, né?
Start the activity. So
Porque agora, em vez de você ficar só upando elas mesmo,
to farm some artifice armor
pegar o espaço de energia que tem ali, ó, em cima,
or 70.
agora já tem aí um bônus aí nas armaduras mesmo. Interessante.
Get through. So now it's just like you're going into the toppest end difficulty thing to get tier 5s. You know exactly what you're getting.
Yeah.
So
and
it's significantly more likely that when you get your drop, it's going to be something valuable. It might not be valuable to your exact build, but it will be valuable. It will be the stats total that you want.
Yeah, yeah. Eric?
Yeah, and with the new portal system, which we'll talk about next week, you're going to have a score goal that you want to hit to
Essa armadura que ele tá usando, aquele status em amarelo, é porque ela já tá aprimorada, viu?
or more targeted.
Mas fora isso, ela é bem
certain,
bem fraca aí.
like I know what I have to do to get it, and when it drops, I know
Certeza que é daquelas armaduras que a gente vai conseguir fazer na campanha mesmo.
the total value, right?
Yeah.
And it's just much more clear and exciting. So.
And, oh, go ahead.
I really like, yeah, we're mousing over here, the armor archetype. We now like display what things are going to be high on it and what things are going to be low. And they're like a little further apart where things are going to be spikier now. And so like, if you want to really max out stats, you can just look for that, emblem. You'll know what your armor is kind of like going to be good at. And it's
you,
like,
you
yeah.
can see that like at your main inventory level too. So you're just like mousing over like, oh, I just got a bunch of drops. What did I get? Cool. Is it gunner? Is it grenadier?
Right.
Like, what is the thing that I want? You can use that as like a quick reference rather than needing to go all the way into inspection and see like the exact stats.
And the last detail on tier 5 for armor, we mentioned this in the reveal stream, but you can get to 11 energy for your armor. So it helps with build crafting. You can get more of those armor mods slotted and that kind of stuff.
It goes to 11 now.
Yeah, right.
Crank it.
It
So
does
switching
better,
over to
yeah.
weapons, though,
O status ali da armadura vai continuar a mesma coisa que esse que tá hoje, viu? Vai acrescentar mais esse negócio de ter que eles falaram que
Similarly, when a weapon drops and be able to,
basicamente vai ficar melhor o dano seu.
it's going to have base stats.
Tanto nas armas quanto tanto nas armaduras quanto nas armas tem um tier também agora, viu?
We now have 2 enhanced traits. We have some of our columns are going to have more perk options in them. And then tier 5, so this is a tier 3. And then tier 5 is going to have even more. Like, look at the options here. And so much enhancement. And
yeah,
we
tier
have
4 you get the
E
enhanced.
agora você tem a opção de colocar aí os mods vamos dizer assim, obra-prima, né?
Understanding of like
Modo lendário.
activity, what is the expectation of the things they're getting. This, like the multi-perk and the enhanced perks kind of work for that too. So the odds of you getting that like specific god roll or multi-god roll, if you're looking for like the combo PvP, PvE weapon,
Yeah,
are
we're
a
adding
lot higher than like in past activities where you're just getting, okay, I'm going to get 1 adept with 1 trait in each column.
Yeah, and we're adding a lot of depth. Like as we were hovering over those enhanced perks, they have additional things that they can do, whether it be stats or power for the perk. We're putting all of these details into the game so people know as they're getting into this depth, they can hover over these things, understand all the different stats. We'll, of course, have blog components. We'll have some guides that our players make, our creators make. We'll blast those out. But we're hoping to bring more of these sorts of things into the game to make it easier to understand. So,
Yeah, that said, if you,
Algumas coisas que estão mostrando ali já tem no jogo, né? Colocaram algumas coisinhas a mais, mas algumas já tem.
if it's a good roll, it's a good roll. Like it's, you know, just because it doesn't necessarily adhere to the tier system doesn't mean it is not equal or greater value in some.
yeah, there was this really funny reference that Mactix made, one of our creators, where he had this beautiful giant sword, and he's like, "This is what I got today, and it has
Esse
perfect.
cão de mão é da hora, viu, que tá usando.
And here's my new tier 1 weapon that doesn't really have good perks. Like, what are you going to use?"
Yeah.
So to answer the question, Shadow on Blue Sky was asking, are my weapons that I have right now or armor, like, is that going to be viable in high-end content? And the answer is, of course. There are going to be a couple things in here that add incentive to try out new things. But Vivian, you had kind of framed it as a cherry on top, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's also like a way to, you know, in the past, sometimes like the best way to get your path to power was like to do a lot of something. But now if you like do really hard activities as well, you know, we're also just kind of rewarding you for the time there.
Yeah. So right at the
Talk
9.
about
Oh, go ahead.
future gear stuff in relation to this.
Yeah, we will in a second, but I just wanted to touch on right at the 9. Some folks were asking, like, what do these equate to in the tier system? And when you get an adept right at the 9 weapon, both of your columns are enhanced, all that kind of stuff. Like, it looks like a tier 3. It's going to feel like a tier 3 for a while. So there is a good handshake as you're going into Edge of Fate. But yeah, the last thing for Tier 5 gear, I would like to show the cosmetic treatment that we've been doing. We showed this in the reveal stream, but Tier 5s have an awesome new shader treatment and also kill effects.
Yeah, so these basically on the weapons, they'll come with like a fancy shader on it, and
É
then
o cosmético que eu tava falando pra vocês, ó.
sweaty confetti, but now it's like a specific slot where it gets a custom kill effect that only comes on the Tier 5 variant.
Tem que estar nível 5 pra aplicar ele,
Kind of learning a bunch of lessons.
o cosmético, né?
Kill effects are really cool. Players like this. Now we have a new slot for it. Players really like hollow foils as a chase in the game right now, and now we have Tier 5s where you get sort of a hollow foil style treatment for it. So it's been really cool to watch y'all develop this over time. But to your point, this actually is a good segue into the next section where we're talking about new and featured gear and our artifact. So Eric, if you want to take the stage, what is new or featured gear?
Yeah, so our new gear, when we drop new weapons and armor for a season or for a release, that is going to get a bonus. It's going to be a little bit stronger than your other options. So on the armor side, you are going to get
Mas aí é o artefato já, que tá mostrando, né?
you have equipped, and that is
No artefato.
scales by gear tier. So if I have 5 tier 1 armor pieces, I'm going to have 5% damage resistance against, you know, everything.
E ali embaixo tem um guia bônus que tem.
I have 5 tier 5 gear pieces. I'm going to have 15% damage versus it.
O cara quase não conseguia falar com essa dedo.
So it is something that allows me to have a little bit of an edge. You know, it's a very small amount. It's a min-max sort of situation where if I wanted to wear stuff that is not in the new gear pool, like I am not at a huge detriment.
Right.
But
Something that gives you like that little bit of edge to like inch out into like the highest tier stuff when you like really need just a little bit more health or a little bit more damage.
Yeah, speaking of damage, so you can see that the max is actually 10%. This is a clarification.
E ali em cima tem a descrição do Neo Gear Armor. Neo Gear Armor, no caso, seria aí o bônus que dá usando o novo Gear.
get all your tier 5 weapons equipped. So again, cherry on top.
Ali embaixo tem o cinético, energético e
Kind of like
o
in
pesado, se não me engano.
places where you walk out into the tower and you're wearing all your raid gear. You're kind of like peacocking, as y'all have framed
right.
it.
Ali embaixo tem o que vai dar no artefato, né?
Tier 5 gear. This shows like not only have I mastered this content, but I've earned a bunch of really cool stuff, gotten all the gear I want, and now I can carry my team through. So. When it comes to the new gear as well, what's the way that you identify that as a player?
Yeah, so if you see that little kind of teal icon in the top left corner of the armor piece, that is going to that's going
O
to...
melhor que tem é essa luva aí, até agora que eu tô achando.
It's not only
A luva do arcano,
a
o
release
peito do caçador, não achei tão legal assim, sendo sincero.
collection of
E também aí
exotic pieces as well.
Yeah,
So-
if we hop into the collections really quick.
a luva do titã, né? O martelinho é muito da hora usar ela.
Gear. So if you have some things from previous releases, those are going to be a part of the building or build crafting as well.
Correct.
A note for any newer players or returning players, some of these things are actually like, you can go to Xur, try to grab those. You can go into Rite of the Nine. Emissary is going to have a few things like Graviton Lance. That's a great thing to pick up before this new release starts, so then you have a little bit of an edge going in.
Yeah, if y'all screenshot this, you can start hunting this stuff down right now, right?
Yeah, and
the
we will
list.
have follow-up blogs where we're going to go line by line. I understand, like, this stream has a lot of data. It has a lot of numbers, that kind of stuff. Big lists of gear. We'll have a full bulleted list, not just in TWIDs, but in patch notes as we keep going. So I think with that, we can go into the artifact as well.
Cool.
Yeah, so the artifact this time around, we're going and we're exploring Kepler. So kind of going with that theme is we wanted this to be kind of like, scout the wild frontier. And so to that end, it's kind of a little longer range weapon-wise than some of our recent artifacts. One of the other themes that we wanted to get was this is gonna be me and my fire team, So if you're scouting solo, we have stuff for solo. If you're scouting as a group, we have stuff as a group. Then lastly is we made this artifact a little more weapons focused than we maybe normally do, because we wanted to kind of highlight that kind of the Guardian's kit, kind of down to earth, kind of grit thing. Some of my favorite perks in these are in the fifth
Esse
column.
artefato que ele tá colocando aí,
One is
depois eu faço explicando mais algumas coisas, viu, no vídeo.
additive shrapnel burst when you're killing guys when they're radiant or when you're radiant or they are scorched. And I actually really like that we pay out scorched a little because sometimes you can't quite get that ignition,
So
and
that's going to pair really well with the Warlock exotic coming out. Yeah.
Oh yeah. You could scorch a bunch of guys and then you can cause them to alt burst. It's very cool. The fourth one in this column also is a favorite of mine. It's Tangled Web, and this is going to suspend everyone when you generate a tangle via combat. And normally we do that effect, we reserve that effect for breaking the tangle, right? And now it's on creation, and it leads to a very fun situation where you can just kind of walk up and take it, and you're like, thank you guys, I'll be back. And they can't do anything, and it kind of gets you there faster if you're not using grapple grenade or something.
It works really well with the Hunter exotic.
It also works really well with the Hunter exotic. It's lots of fun.
Awesome. Yeah, I think, so there's a question from V. Ferrer sorry if I pronounced that wrong, asking, are there going to be more seasonal mods? And with the artifact, you can see next major update, there's going to be another row, as people know. With the featured gear, there's also going to be added exotics to that pool. And Bjorn, I believe we are also making some new seasonal mods that'll be released over time, correct?
Yeah, kind of in the same way that we did last season, where we had the Taken theme set of weapon mods. We'll have the same thing for this release's theme. That you can find those out as they come.
Perfect. All right. Well, wow. I believe we are at the end of the stream. Thank you so much for joining us on the couch. Everybody out there, thank you so much for joining us during this live stream to see what we have to offer. We do have another live stream next Tuesday, July 1st, same time, same place, different cast, sorry. I'll
Vai
invite
ter mais uma live, aí vamos explicar mais ou menos como que vai ser
What are you playing? How are you
uma coisa da campanha, né? Aí foi mais só pra saber como que vai funcionar o artefato,
in the portal with new
a subclasse.
modifiers, all that kind of stuff. Just because this is information heavy, as I mentioned, we do have a slate of blog content that'll be coming live. We'll have a recap on Thursday. We have a standalone next Wednesday that'll talk a little bit more about gear tiering. Next Thursday, we'll also have another recap for that stream and additional Sandbox information. And then we keep marching into launch with more patch note previews, gear previews, all that kind of stuff. So outside of the full suite of gear you'll be earning on Kepler, bunch of stuff to discover. So thank you so much again for joining. This has been a fun stream. And as we leave, we're going to toss you over to our good friend Fallout. He's going to be talking through a bunch of what we said today. He was one of the creators that we invited to Bungie with hands-on, so he can explain some things. And we'll be collecting questions throughout the rest of the day to answer in the twit. Thanks so much for joining, and we'll see you next time.
Vai ter mais outra live, que é a primeira, né? Mas enfim, galerinha, é o seguinte, eu gostei de algumas coisas que foi apresentado. Aqui, né? A luva do Titã, a luva do Arcano foi bem da hora. Pra ver como que vai funcionar. Mas do Casados não achei tão legal assim. Mas vamos ver quando sair, né? Lembrando que daqui não é o resultado final que vai chegar pra nós. E as armas também achei bem da hora aí. Tem mostrado algumas coisas que vai vir, né? O artefato também. Algumas coisas que eu vou estar traduzindo pra vocês no vídeo, logo em seguida. Se você gostar daí da live, vamos esperar aí a próxima, daqui a alguns dias vai ter a continuação dessa daqui, né? Ficando por aqui. E até mais até o vídeo sair, mais tarde mais ou menos. Valeu aí quem acompanhou a live, vai ficar salvo no canal. Eu ficando por aqui e falou!